Mr. Chairman Franks, Ranking Member Cohen, and distinguished members of the subcommittee, I'm grateful to have been asked by the subcommittee to testify today in support of the Prenatal Nondiscrimination Act of 2016, or H.R. 4924. Passing this bill is a necessary and proactive step in the fight to end gender inequality domestically and abroad. Many people in the United States assume that sex discrimination has been all but eliminated here. Yet a violent form of sex discrimination in the form of sex-selective abortion, practiced on girls in particular, is still permitted within our borders. Sex-selective abortion is choosing to abort a preborn child based solely on that child's sex. Any discrimination against a unique human individual based on sex alone constitutes sex discrimination, and it cannot stand. Congress has the opportunity here, through the passage of the Prenatal Nondiscrimination Act, to prohibit the discriminatory practice of sex-selective abortion, thereby confirming the fact that women have the same inherent and civil and human rights as men. I intend to testify to the existence of sex discrimination through sex-selective abortion, the seriousness of it, and the justifications in enacting this bill. My comments are condensed from my extensive research paper just published by Charlotte Lozier Institute this week. The findings on sex-selective abortion in this bill are quite extensive, and I think they highlight the prevalence of the problem here in the United States and the problem globally of sex discrimination against girls via abortion. Ban on sex-selective abortion to protect girls is in particular from the practice of gendercide. We know that studies show that at conception and at birth, the ratio of males to females, naturally, biologically, is about equal. Additionally, there's little to no variation in sex ratios in relation to maternal race or age. So any kind of skewed sex ratio at birth cannot be explained away by natural variations. There are well-documented practices of infanticide and sex-selective abortion of female children, and that has resulted in upwards of 160 million missing women or missing girls across the globe. So what we're saying here is it's affecting the human society in general. Sex selection in favor of males is known to be a problem in certain cultures based on the idea of son preference, but the practice of son preference is not limited to certain cultures or countries. In fact, European countries have numbers similar to that skewed numbers of China and India, particularly the Caucasus. Opponents of these bans will claim that this precaution is not needed because the ratio is balanced in the United States overall. That balanced ratio belies the fact that Western nations such as the UK and the US have seen a spike in sex ratio imbalance within certain subpopulations inside our own borders. Studies have shown that, and another 2 studies out of Canada came out this week confirming those very numbers in extreme sex imbalance ratios. Again, additionally, we have a lot of commercial advertisements. I saw 3 websites this week that advertise in the United States finding out the gender of your child up as early as 10 weeks gestation for the purpose of family balancing. There's no way to family balance past that pregnancy without sex-selective abortion. The abysmal state of abortion reporting data does not allow us in the United States to have exact numbers. But the question before us is not, what are the exact numbers? The question before us is whether any abortion done for reasons of sex selection is permissible in light of our tradition and laws protecting persons from discrimination based on sex alone. The American public overwhelmingly supports bans on sex-selective abortion because they understand this violates American tradition of holding up the idea that women and men are equal under the law and should be thusly protected. This sex discrimination is through sex-selective abortion is a violent form of sex discrimination and needs to be eliminated, not just globally, but also here in the United States. We've seen Congress say that this is not permissible practice overseas. We've seen Secretary of State Clinton, the United Nations, all come out against sex-selective abortion. But if we don't address it here, we have no right to address it elsewhere. So we must accept that this occurs globally, and Congress can take their first step in eliminating the reprehensible practice of discriminating against women by banning sex-selective abortion here in the United States and thereby retain its moral authority to say this should not happen anywhere. Thank you.